Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bottoms Up, Fins Up, the every 2 week Dolphin podcast with myself, Mike Brown, Pops. Brown, Pops, what's going down?
Michael, just trying to keep up with all the craziness going on. Draft coming up.
Draft coming up next week. So excited. This week's beer of the week is Land Shark Lager. Delicious, based out of Florida. Make sure to pick up a 6-pack or a 12-pack the next time you're at the convenience store. Today was a big day, man. We had Dennis Allen, the assistant GM. We had Chris Greer, the GM, Tua Tagovailoa, and Xavier Howard give their media availability, some high points from those press conferences that I watched earlier. Chris Greer touched on the fact he talked about the Jalen Ramsey trade, which, shocker, Dad, him as a GM thought it was a good opportunity to get a very good player. You know, that's GMs too. You know what I mean? So he touched on that. He touched on the fact that the tight end class, specifically in this upcoming draft, is a good class to keep an eye on, which the Dolphins lost Mike Gesicki. They re-signed Dermot Smythe, lost Hunter Long. I know Hunter Long. By the way, did you ever notice how Hunter Long looked like that guy from the We Are the Millers movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
But we also got the guy from Denver.
Yeah, we did get the guy from Denver, Tanner. He touched on him. He did talk about Eric Izukumwa, or Easy E, as you like to call him.
Yep.
Him and Channing Tindall were draft picks. They look more towards the future, not so much in the now with those guys. So your thoughts initially off of those hot topics from earlier today?
I think the interesting part of the whole session was Tua bringing up the point that he considered retiring at one point.
Well, we haven't gotten to that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
We can, though. We can talk about it.
It's okay. I just, it's interesting. It's only April, and they're going to mini camp.
Pops, I think we lost you. So we'll continue the show until Pops comes back. But again, most of the presser between Greer and Dennis Allen was centrally focused on the Jalen Ramsey move, which again, so Pops, are you there? All right, Dad,
I'm here.
Okay, there you go. Okay, we lost you for the last 30 seconds or so.
I'm here.
Okay.
You were gone too. Your screen was blank too.
Well, perfect. So now we're back. So there wasn't really much that Greer talked about that caught my eye. The running back, he did talk about the running back room. Your thoughts on, because the Dolphins do have, as of right now, pick number, what is their first pick? You know,
50
number
something, 51?
I was going to say 52. Go ahead and talk about the need for a running back while I look it up real quick.
Well, I'll say this.
Pick number 50. 51.
You got 4 running backs signed. Rumors are flying crazy about the kid from Minnesota,
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, if they cut him and he comes to Miami, then I see pick number 51 being either an offensive lineman or a linebacker who can make some plays.
Yeah, well,
a playmaker.
I can also see them going tight end at 51 too. I could totally see them going tight end at 51. I wouldn't love it. I gotta tell you, at 51. So let me ask you this. So you bring up a good point, right? Let me ask you, would you rather have, how do I want to say this? Would you rather have Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook? Cook is going to be less expensive because they're already talking about the potential of cutting him.
Right.
But I think the Dolphins would end up trading like somewhere between a 5th and a 7th round pick for Dalvin Cook just to guarantee him getting to the Dolphins instead of allowing it to go to free agency and potentially losing him to a different team. So if it costs you a third. Do they even have a third round pick? I'm trying
Yeah, I
to.
think we do. I think we have a third.
Dude, these. Okay, while I take a look at it, I mean, if you acquired a third round pick, would you rather trade a third for Henry or a fifth for Cook?
Henry is such a beast. And
Yeah,
he's a guy that on 3rd and 1, you
yeah.
just give him the ball and you get out of his way. Which we haven't had that guy since God, who knows? Larry Zonka, maybe Pete Johnson,
Yeah.
just a bull in a china shop. But I think Cook is younger, is he not?
They're right around the same age. Dalvin Cook is 27. Derrick Henry looks to be 29. Derrick Henry's 29. Cook's a little bit younger. Cook has also expressed direct interest in joining the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, he has.
The other name that I've seen being talked about a lot at 51 is Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama. That you can give me Jahmyr Gibbs on this team any day of the week,
Yeah,
especially because your boy Bijan, who went where? Where did he go to school?
the University of Texas.
I think Robinson's going to be a star in the NFL. I think Bijan Robinson has everything you could want. But who's the guy behind him that you're a big fan of?
I would love to see Miami get Rashawn Johnson.
That's who it is.
That guy is not as good as Bijan, but he's good in different ways. Great special teams player. He can also get you that tough yard, but you get him on the outside. I think you could get Rashawn Johnson in the 3rd round.
So the Dolphins, as of today, they've got number 52, number 78, number 85, 179, and 241. So really, you have 1, 2, and you have 2 3s. Those are the 3 picks that you could look at. I don't know how much they're going to maneuver downwards. I mean, if you pops, let's say they stay there, right? If I told you they came out of this with an offensive lineman, a linebacker, and a running back, how excited would you be?
I'd be very excited. Those are 3 areas. Well, if
So
I
would you
think it
rather
all
go
hit,
a running back or a tight end?
if you get Cook, then I go tight end, not running back.
Yeah. See, now you're thinking, right? Because if you took that 179, which is in the 6th round, if you could get Dalvin Cook for 179, there's your running back. You draft a tight end, an offensive lineman, and another linebacker. See, but do they need another linebacker, especially if they play Tyndall this year and then they actually played David Long, who we got from Tennessee?
Well, you got him. Don't you have the guy? Hey, Anthony, how are you? MOB, baby. The guy, didn't we get a linebacker from Denver as well?
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, we picked up a couple linebackers. Anthony says, I can see us giving up this year a 2nd round pick, future 3rd, and a conditional 5th to get into the 30s. See, what would you give up? Why would you give up all that to get into the 30s? What are you going after?
How high do you think Bijan Robinson is going? You think top 15?
Bijan?
Yeah.
He's not getting out of the top. He's not getting out of the 20. Or he's not dropping below 20, in my opinion. Look, you can call me nuts, and we're, for all of our Dolphin fans that listen from outside the city, we're out of Houston. If I'm the Houston Texans, I take Bijan Robinson at 12, and I don't look back. I think I think Bijan is a star.
I do too.
Even though they have Damian Pierce here in Houston, I mean, you need 2 backs in today's NFL. You cannot be successful with 1 back. The thing that scares me about 51, if you take Jahmyr Gibbs, and I love Jahmyr Gibbs, running back is one of those positions that you don't necessarily need a high-profile type guy, in my opinion.
Well, you got what? Elliott went to where? The Eagles. Okay. He was once a high-profile guy. You got Barkley out there, who's probably, I don't know, maybe going to re-sign with the Giants.
Well, no, Elliott hasn't signed yet.
I heard he signed with the Eagles.
Nope. I'm looking at a report right now. He hasn't signed. Yeah. Michael Mayer is a tight end. I want to say Michael Mayer's out of Notre Dame. I want to say, yeah, Michael Mayer is a tight end out of Notre Dame. Listen to this, dude. He's 6'4", 265. Oh, shit. You can sign me up for a 6'4", 265 type tight end. But if you think about it, Pops, I mean, think about who won the Super Bowl last year.
Kansas City.
They're doing it. You know, Pacheco was a late round pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't get a lot of run with them anymore. You look at Philadelphia, who was there too, doing it with Miles Sanders. I mean, you can be really successful. And Buffalo, how successful, hadn't gotten anywhere. Buffalo's been with the lack of a running game. All these top end teams, it's all about your quarterback. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you, you may laugh at this notion, but I'll ask you this. If the Dolphins traded up into the top part of the second round to draft Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, would you like it, the quarterback? Or would you hate that move? I'm just asking. I've seen it a couple different places. I don't know. Me personally, I would hate it, but I want to get your opinion on it.
I think if Tua this year, which I don't think he's going to, but if he totally flops or he gets hurt again or has another concussion and he's done, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker's not going to be the answer. You're going to have to go out and get.
How do you know?
How do I know?
You don't know that.
I don't. You're right.
Well, I mean, what would you do? In this instance, this year, they're set. They got Mike. They got.
Why'd you sign Mike White then?
No, that's what I'm saying. Is he's the interim answer? But my question is, and New England had this philosophy for years, and I love this philosophy: draft a quarterback every year. I'm not saying you have to draft him, obviously, in the top, first round, second round, but even at the end, just a project type guy. Look at a guy like Brock Purdy, who went out and balled out in San Francisco.
Yep.
It never hurts those back end type guys if he's just sitting there, a nice project. The Dolphins found Skylar Thompson the same way.
I don't know if I would go second on Hooker.
You have to for a guy like Hooker.
It's a chance. I'm telling you, you're taking a chance. What did Anthony say? I would hate it because the guy needs too much development and you're having issues with injuries. Yeah.
I mean, he can ball. You know who Hendon Hooker reminds me of is Tyrod Taylor.
Third round, maybe.
Don't waste a pick on a quarterback in the draft. Fill other needs first. And that's fair. I mean, look, I'm not saying I agree with that, but you have to talk about, especially the news that came out today. First of all, can I ask you this? And I feel like I've asked you this multiple times, and I want to make sure we hit numerous topics here because we only have so much time. It's so hard to hate Tua Tagovailoa when he talks. Like, the more the guy talks, the more I like the guy.
Right.
Do you have the same feeling towards him?
I never said I hated the guy. I hate that when he was healthy and we were rolling, and then and I don't know if you want to blame the offensive line, you want to blame the quarterback coach because they don't teach him how to get rid of the ball quick enough, take a knee. That the part I hate is that he got hurt twice last year, and it cost us in the playoffs. It totally did. I don't hate. There's very few players that I hate, and the ones I do are usually on Buffalo and the Jets.
I was about to say. You hated. Actually, you know who you hated? You hated Braxton Berrios, who's our new slot man.
I didn't hate him.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, but it's so funny. It's so funny how a guy comes here and I'm like, you know what, Braxton Berrios, he's a decent guy. You listen to him talk. Have you seen him without his shirt on? He looks a lot like me without my shirt on.
Well, that was the first thing I thought about.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, Braxton Berrios is a bigger, stronger version of Wes Welker.
Wes Welker was a lot better route runner than Berrios. And by the way, can we talk about, it's our annual draft talk. Can we talk about how you never see this? And I saw an article on this today, how no guys get compared to other guys of a different ethnicity. Like, you just did it now. Like, Braxton Berrios is a Wes Welker type of guy.
Right.
Why can't he be like a DeAndre Carter? Why can't he be They do that all the time. Mel Kiper and all those guys on ESPN. It's so funny because when they compare, uh, uh, different. Like, it's so funny to me. Anyway, we'll move on from that.
Well, because Wes Welker used to be that guy. First of all, at Tech, when they played the Longhorns, who would dink and dink and dink, and he did it in the pros. I mean, that's
He'll kill
just
you.
the first guy's name that it came to.
Yeah, no, he'll kill you. But look, Barrios is going to be a nice little pickup, and we haven't talking about Chosen Anderson, which, by the way, when we talked about the fact, you know where I'm going with this. We got to get a jersey for all the Jewish fans that just says the Chosen One, with like a Star of David on it. Would you wear that? I would so wear that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
Did you see how he introduced himself at the press conference? Well, yeah, because it was like, the stupid kids coming out of high school with the hats on the table.
Yeah.
Somebody handed him a shoebox and, blah, blah, blah. And he pulled out I thought that was pretty cool. Just like, what's his name? When Armstead wore the Merino jersey last year.
And you'll be shocked by this. We both have that Merino jersey.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. The draft hats. Are you getting a draft hat? I like the draft hats this year. They're cool looking.
I would have bought them in Vegas if I would have seen them, but I like the snapbacks better.
I did get a hat in the mail today from your sister. That might be my new favorite hat.
Yes.
Think about it.
Oh my God.
It's a white hat, and it's got South Carolina on the bottom, and it just says Cox across the top.
Oh, that's very cool.
You got to wear that. I mean, that's a hat, right? That you got to wear.
Why wouldn't you wear that hat?
Well, you got to support the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some other stuff that came out today. Xavier Howard talked. We played through 2 groin injuries last year. He hurt one groin in week 2 and one groin in week 3. One thing that he said that I want to get your take on is he said that he was voted into the Pro Bowl just because of who he is. And he came out and he was like, look, my play last year did not deserve the Pro Bowl whatsoever. You and I, we go to our local Hooters, which, by the way, we do need to find a new place to go this year because Hooters lackluster service. But he said, well, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're talking about the.
I mean, how many times were we watching last year where he just got burned? I mean, burned. Yeah,
he got torched. He also touched on, and I think this is worth the price of admission to training camp. Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which is so cool. Like the thought of it's great, but it's also every day. That's iron sharpening iron, man. Because you're talking about arguably. Now you can agree to this or disagree with this. You could make a case the Dolphins have the best cornerback duo in the league and the best wide receiver duo in the league. You can make that argument.
It's close, yeah.
Oh, you can make the argument.
Isn't Ramsey the one who laid out Tyreek Hill at the Pro Bowl?
It's awesome. It's so awesome. And by the way, Tyreek Hill, great follow on Twitter.
But I think it's interesting. I think we're back or getting close to the days where guys want to come to Miami and play. And we haven't had that since the Marino Shula days. I mean, that's how they got that Keith Jackson back in what was it?
Let me tell you about my boy Keith Jackson.
Yeah, I mean they got all these guys who A, wanted to come play in Miami, B, there's no state tax, C, there's South Beach, and D, they were a good team with a good coach. We haven't been there in a long time.
No, and I think the word you're looking for is fun. Like it's fun being a Dolphins fan again, It's also the team is being surrounded by tough dudes. That you look at whether it's Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson will punch you in the mouth and he won't apologize for it, right?
Yeah.
You got guys like Teron Armstead, Connor Williams. We don't even talk about Alec Ingold at fullback. You got Raheem Mostert, speed, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Now you're getting the right tight ends. You know, you talk about the Tanner kid from Denver. You talk about Dermon Smythe. You know, and then you move to the defensive side of the ball. We need to talk about Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, Bradley Chubb, David Long, Javon Holland, your boy Brandon Jones, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard. There's some swag on this team, man.
Right. But, you know,
And Xavier Howard said that today, by the way. He said for the first time this year, he feels like he's surrounded by a team that can go the distance. He said that today.
But, you know, you go back to the receivers. I mean, we lost. Who did we lose? The kid who went to Buffalo.
Your guy, Trent Sherfield.
We lost Sherfield, but I like the fact that we re-signed Craig Kraft. I think that Easy E is going to be in the mix. I think you've got Barrios. I think you've got the chosen one. I mean, I think at receiver, you got a lot of playmakers. Who are your guys' realistic target at 51?
Phenomenal. The audience is fantastic tonight.
I'm looking at Tucker, Kraft, Matthew Bergeron, or Luke Shoemaker.
Did you say Skywalker?
Michael, tell me who. Okay, Anthony, who are these guys? You got to help me out here.
Well, see, so I'm looking here, and I haven't done my mock draft. I'm going to get to it this weekend. The biggest thing right now is there's a guy I'm a big fan of out of TCU. He's a converted center. He used to play guard, Steve Avila, out of TCU. I'm looking at, there's another guy, tight end out of Iowa, Sam Laporta. Those are two guys that I would keep a really close eye on. Luke Musgrave is a tight end out of Oregon State. Dude, let me ask you this. Where do you fall on a prospect, right? Because when you talk about getting into the second round and later, in my opinion, school choice is a big thing for me. And what I mean by that is if you have a guy graded out of 100 at 87, but he played at Hofstra, right? And then you have a guy who grades out same position at about a 78, but he played at Alabama. Which guy would you go off of? The guy who's got maybe the higher grade as a prospect, or the guy with a lower grade, but he has a higher pedigree by playing at a major school? Because I'm going pretty much 10 times out of 10, I'm going school over prospect. If it's that close, if it's within.
You do go with the school. Did they play in the SEC? But at the same time, how much did they play? You know, I mean, for every stud out there, you know, and it's not just Miami, but, you know, over the years, they uncovered guys like John Offerdahl and Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor. And just, you know, you got to sometimes go with what you see, and you got to go with your gut, you know. But some people like Anthony, they don't care about the school.
Yeah. Sam Mills. Look, I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there that I'm a school guy. Like when you look at certain prospects, a lot of their stuff that you talk about, whether it's a 40 timer, how much they can bench, or all that good stuff, right? And you got to trust your scouting department. But I'm going to take a guy who went to an Alabama, a Michigan, an Ohio State over a guy who went to a smaller school who may have graded out just a little bit better. The other thing that the Dolphins need to keep an eye on in this draft, and I know this is an uncomfortable conversation for people to have, you may have to look at, you know, not upgrading, I should say, the potential of you may lose a combination of Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer. So you may have to look at a guy like Sakai Ika out of Baylor, big nose tackle. You may have to look into that because you may not be able to keep Wilkins and Sealer.
I think you'll lose if you lose either one of them. It'll be Sealer. It won't be Wilkins. No way.
Yeah. Look, and it's all about personal preference, right? And that 51st pick, I'm going to be so fascinated to see what they do there, because if I had to make a bet, Pops, I'll make you a bet right now because we're not going to do a show before the draft next week. They're not drafting at a 51. There's no way. I don't think so.
Okay. What, over and under, higher or lower?
They're going lower. They're going to trade it. They're going to trade down because I don't think there's a big enough difference maker at 51 that if you look at a team who falls in love with, I'll give you a perfect example, right? If the Giants, right? The Giants are always in the wide receiver game. I'll give you a perfect name: Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of Tennessee, who's projected via Walter Football to go at 57. If Cedric Tillman's there at 51 and there's a run on wide receivers early and often in the draft, the Dolphins can move from 51 to 57, pick up a, fourth or fifth round pick at bare minimum to go from 57 to 51. If the Dolphins can take a 51, move down to 57 and still come out of this with one of their tight ends that they're looking for, that's the type of move that I think that they're going to make on night one of the draft. I don't think they're drafting at 51.
What's the highest pick you think they can get for Cedric Wilson? Third, fourth?
I don't know. I mean, there's some rumblings about Dallas wanting him back because he performed at a really high level with the same quarterback that they have now in Dak Prescott. You may have to package Cedric Wilson, let's say a sixth, maybe for a fourth, maybe potentially. I mean, that's a good note by you. And the Dolphins could potentially look at night of the draft. Another expendable guy could be Myles Gaskin if they come away with Dalvin Cook. So that's another way for them to pick up. I don't know what Gaskin's worth. I don't think Gaskin's worth.
And somebody like Gaskin, if I'm a team,
any more than a sixth.
I'm just going to wait till summer until they cut him.
I mean, that's fair. You could have a team, though, that, Selman Ahmad. I mean, so I like Ahmad. I think
I like Ahmad better than Gaskin.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We're totally on the same page. But those are, have we not talked about any position?
Safety.
I see why. The issue is Greer said in his press conference today, Liam and Austin are the starters at guard and tackle this year, and they're not going to focus on offensive line in this year's draft.
Smoke screen.
I think it's smoke. See, I'm with you, dude. It's all lip service at this point because if the right prospect falls, what Dolphin fans don't get, though, Pops, and tell me if I'm right or wrong in this, what they don't realize is they already have a decent amount of money invested in this offensive line in the form of Teron Armstead. And you're already paying Connor Williams decent money too. You're not going to have studs everywhere on the offensive line, especially with the rest of the roster that they have.
Yeah, I know, but how many games last year?
Fair.
False start. Austin Jackson, Jesus, he's horrible. Robert Hunt, horrible. I mean,
well, Hunt's not horrible. No. You're thinking of Solomon Kinley. Solomon Kinley's horrible, not Robert Hunt. But I do think it's fair with what McDaniel said that you got to give these guys a second year in the offense before you start casting them aside. I mean, really, we're going to go 1 year and done? I don't think that's fair to those guys. I don't think so.
It says, what teams do you think are in a rebuild mode that you could see trading with?
Texans.
I think the Texans are in a rebuilding mode. I think
the Colts are in a rebuilding mode. What's fascinating too about this question is there's two monster fish that have to land in this draft season, right? That's Aaron Rodgers, who, shocker, is not a Jet. And I have some thoughts on that if we have time to get to that, Pops.
I got plenty of time.
Well, and Lamar Jackson. And what's so funny about those moves is I say Indianapolis is a rebuilding team right now. I don't think they're rebuilding if they go get Lamar Jackson, because I think Lamar Jackson is going to either be a Raven, a Colt, or a Falcon. Those are the only three spots that make sense to me. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be QB1 for the Ravens game 1 next year. But if Indy finds a way to come out of this with Lamar Jackson, they're no longer rebuilding because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I like JM, and JM's got my safety. I would like to see them get another safety. And I love Brandon Jones, and I think Brandon Jones is going to be back. And Brandon Jones, before he got hurt, he was your best blitzing whatever.
Yep.
And he
would get. You need depth. You need depth at that safety spot, especially after losing Rowe.
tell me the guys though. Okay, Trill Williams and Nick Needham, and there was a third guy who we lost
Mackenzie Alexander, who they signed right after Trill Williams
from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was tough. But all of those guys play corner. You got to get some safety help. I totally agree with that. Would love some safety help. And that's a guy, that's a position I could see them moving up for. Defensive line, I think you only go defensive line if you're convinced that you're losing either Sealer or Wilkins in the immediacy, which you're not. Both of those guys, Sealer was already at the offseason program, and Wilkins is – I think Wilkins isn't going anywhere. They're going to sign Wilkins, but good God, is it going to cost them?
If you lose Sealer, do you go get you re-sign Ingram?
No, because they played two totally different spots. I'll tell you who I'd go get, and you may laugh at this. I would go get Ndamukong Suh. I would 100% go back and get Ndamukong Suh.
Hey, I could wear my jersey again.
You could. We drop the safety. I think what happens with Brandon Jones is we add more weight to the kid and move him to the linebacker. Yeah, I mean he could be your Julius Campbell, if you will. You can move him to strong side linebacker. Do you like the draft? I love the draft. I'm a geek for the draft. I will watch the first 2 nights for sure. I'll check in on day 3.
I'm not psyched. It's not a big deal to me unless my team is picking, and since they're not, no.
F them picks, baby. F them picks. I love it.
I like the NBA draft better.
Yeah, me too. Especially when the Rockets draft third and we sign Frank Vogel.
We're not drafting third. Shut up.
So let me ask you this. As we get closer to the draft, and this is the last show before the draft, grade the offseason for the Dolphins. How do you think Greer and Stephen Ross did? Graded A to F.
I got to give it an A plus/minus.
Can't do that.
I mean, yeah, you can.
It's either plus or minus.
Jalen Ramsey in itself.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big. If we trade Christian Wilkins, you think we can convince a team like the Eagles to take their 10? Wow.
Ooh. See, I'm not doing that.
I don't trade Wilkins, Anthony.
You can't trade Christian Wilkins. He's a cornerstone. He's an absolute cornerstone. And let me ask you this. If they did do this, and I love questions like this, what do you do at 10? If you're the Dolphins, oh, come on. How are you giving it a C-? That's horrible. That's awful. Well, Anthony, I love you like a brother I never had. I mean, I have a sister who younger, but she,
Okay, Anthony, realistically, you got Jalen Ramsey, you got Berrios, you got David Long,
Mike White, you got good. You
got White, you got Chosen Anderson, you got the other guy from Denver. Why I can't remember the tight end.
Tanner.
Yeah, I mean,
can't do it.
I would say we'll play immediately.
Who? Yeah, no.
I mean, the Jalen Ramsey deal was just crazy in itself.
Oh my God. I mean, that to me deserves an A. I mean, that's an A. He's going to be asking. Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing about Wilkins. Wilkins is a culture guy. And I know that may not mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but I'm just saying you've got to have culture guys in the locker room. You have to have those guys. And he's a dog, man. I mean, Christian Wilkins is a beast. Every time we watch a game, every commentator talks about his motor, his ability to wreak havoc in the backfield. And again, if you're listening to this show, first of all, thank you. But if you're looking for X's and O's and his twitch and his this and his that, you're not going to get that here. You're going to get what we see as fans. And he's a culture guy that you cannot afford to lose because you can't replace him. I will say this. If they could get Jalen Carter from Georgia at 10, I would do it. I would do that deal. But Jalen Carter's not getting a 10. Jalen Carter's the guy who got arrested for speed or drag racing or doing something at Georgia. But and he had a terrible pro day, but his tape pops is ridiculous.
Let me ask you a question. If you pick up Aaron Donald, okay, do you let Sealer go?
You have to. Yes. You have to let Wilkins and Sealer go at that point.
Do you think so, really?
Yeah. And you're talking about this because Chris Greer or Mike McDaniel was in the ear of Aaron Donald at the UFC event, which is awesome, by the way. Can we just talk about the fact that we have the swaggiest head coach in the league? Look, if you're the Dolphins and the Rams are open for business, you 100% make that call.
But how many guys now? I mean, we've gone to a bunch of the guys. I think Howard still could renegotiate, could he not?
He could, but he's already done it. He's already done it once. Look,
Marino did it every year.
No, it's fair, but it's to X. He deserves it. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler. I will say this.
No, he's not. Not last year.
No, he was last year.
But he wasn't. He really wasn't.
But he was selected as one.
Well, and he admitted he shouldn't have been there, but okay.
As we discussed earlier in the show, 100%. Yes. Look, the bottom line is F them picks. If there's a way for the Dolphins to get, I would trade every pick we had for Aaron Donald, 100%, because the Dolphins are all in right now. They're all in. You have to do everything you can do to win a Super Bowl at this point. Because that's the roster. Now, whether you want to be in the Super Bowl business or not, the Dolphins are in the Super Bowl business. Would you agree with that statement or not?
Oh, they're in it right now to win.
You have to. That's the only – you don't go get the guys that you've gone and gotten to not say that you're in the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl or bust at this point. And I know that we haven't won a playoff game in, 20-some-odd years? But that's the mentality that I have going into this next season is it's Super Bowl or bust. We don't have the cap and picks to give, and mortgaging the future is not the way to go. Why? Because it hasn't worked not mortgaging the future has not worked for us since 82. This is the time. They've already done it. JM, whether fans want to believe this or not, the moves they've already made have sent the message that it is time to make a Super Bowl run.
It reminds me of 1995, Shula's last year, where they went out. They wanted to get Shula back to the Super Bowl so bad. They signed veterans like Gary Clark, Steve Entman, and but they didn't mortgage the future. But I see what he's saying. I mean, to get an Aaron Donald, yeah, he's probably like one of the highest paid, like whatever, isn't he?
Well, he's the highest paid defensive tackle in the league. But the thing is, right, and Anthony makes a great point, and JM
absolutely
makes another good point, is yes, if you're the Dolphins, you call the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and say, Tristan Wirfs, star offensive lineman, Antoine Winfield, who went to the Woodlands High School, great safety, who we could have had in the draft, by the way. What do you guys want for them? Name your price. That's what the Dolphins should be doing right now. And that's what they just did with Jalen Ramsey. They are big game hunting. With all due respect to the tight end out of Notre Dame, all of these guys in the draft, we don't care about you at this point. We love you. If you end up being a Dolphin and you're listening to the show, we love you. Okay, we love you like a distant cousin. But the Dolphins should be big game hunting at this point.
I guess you have to look at it as if, okay, if we had kept our picks, would we have gotten a Tyreek Hill, a Jalen Ramsey, a Bradley Chubb?
No.
And I say no.
No.
But I get what JM's saying. If Tua bombs,
which I have a comment after this, but finish.
Then where do we go to get a quarterback? Well, I think that's part of why Mike White was picked up, because Mike White has played. He's better than Bridgewater, first of all. But if Tua bombs, we might end up being in the Caleb Williams race next year anyway.
Okay. So I don't agree with that. because they're not going to be the worst team in the league. There's no way. They could trot you and I out there as the starting quarterback and running back, and we'd still be better than the Texans. Here's my point and my issue with Dolphin fans when this question gets brought up. And JM, it's a fair question, right? Let me ask you this, Pops. What happens if Josh Allen goes down? What happens if Patrick Mahomes goes down? What happens if Lamar Jackson goes down if he goes back to Baltimore? That's my problem with when that question gets brought up, because you can say the same thing about every team.
Well, no, that's true. But Josh Allen does not have a concussion history the last couple of years.
Fair.
So I think we're more behind the 8 ball than a team with. But now Lamar Jackson is as hurt as Tua is every year.
Yep.
You know,
they have Brett Hundley. And I like Brett Hundley, but you can't have the best of both worlds is the problem.
Right.
You can't have a phenomenal quarterback, a top flight quarterback, and have a top flight backup who, that guy is going to be starting somewhere else. Mike White is a good pickup, and they still have Skylar Thompson too. So you're going to have good depth behind Tua, I would say. But that's why you've got to go get either Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. That's the last piece of the puzzle to me.
I think
need a workhorse.
I think getting one of those two guys
need a workhorse
keeps Tua healthier.
Yeah,
okay?
Hand the ball off. Here you go. There you go. There's the ball.
Yep.
I mean, and we talked about this when we started the show last year. We're almost coming up on a year of doing the show, which is awesome. We talked about this last year, that they need a workhorse running back. Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, it's not it, man. If we have White, I don't agree. I like Mike White. I think Mike White's cool. Pops, you have any final thoughts before we almost gone 45 minutes tonight? The conversation's been fantastic.
Oh, Anthony and JM, great questions. And we're not here to say whether they're right or they're wrong. We're here to just for grins, sometimes give the opposite point of view. Now, I'll tell you this, as an old fart, I could give a about a number 1 pick 5 years from now. I don't care. Okay. I want a Dolphins. I want a Super Bowl shirt, and I want a hat, and I want everything, and I want it now. How
much money are you dropping?
Oh God, it's not even close. But I get what some of these people are saying. Do you mortgage the future? And I think in some instances, I'll tell you what, the Rams did it. The Rams totally mortgaged the future when they picked up Ramsey and they picked up Von Miller. Okay.
Stafford too.
And Matt Stafford. And guess what it got him? It got him a trophy.
Is it worth it to you?
Yes.
I mean, okay, yes. So to win a Super Bowl, if you were then going to suck for 10 years, would you make that trade?
Yes.
I'd make that trade every day of the week.
I'm not young like y'all are. That's the difference,
I don't think Skyler's going to be QB2. Although I did like what I saw from Skyler in the playoff game, didn't you? I thought he played his tail off.
Well, I'll tell you, we were a couple of Jalen Waddle drops away from winning that game.
Yeah. By the way, if you're a Dolphins fan going after Jalen Waddle for those drops in that game on social media, you're a loser and you need to get a life.
I'm not. I don't have social media, which
I'm not
is
talking
good.
To you. Did I say, Pops, you're a loser?
No, I'm just saying I can think of some plays there that
come on, man,
could have turned it around a little bit.
Very easily could have. But you're also not there without him.
You also had no running backs that you could give the ball to 25 times either.
You look like you're in your 50s. Congrats.
Oh, Anthony, you're my long lost son. Thank you.
This has been another episode of Bottoms Up, Fins Up for the Fins Talk Network. Make sure to follow Fins Talk Network. Smash that like and subscribe button. You can follow them on Twitter at Fins Talk Network. Find me on Twitter at Bottoms Up, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Brown _2020. 2020. Search Lewis Brown on Facebook if you would like to be friends with Pops. He's the one without a profile picture. So we will catch you guys 2 weeks from tonight to recap all things draft. I will be on Twitter talking about the draft next week, so make sure to follow me once again.
Wait, I forgot one person I forgot about.
Yes.
Talking about depth at safety, and I know this guy's not your favorite person right now, but we got Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did get Deshaun Elliott, safety from the University of Texas, who hashtag wants Lamar in Miami. That's going to be really awkward.
That was taken down quickly, but it was a stupid move. Bobby, good to see you. Fins up, baby.
To the boss. Make sure to follow Bobby at Bobby Fins Talk. We'll see y'all 2 weeks from tonight. And until next time, it's 6:47. The Jets suck. The Patriots suck. The Bills suck. And the Bills have never won a Super Bowl. So that's awesome news. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Later. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Great show tonight.